Hey guys, welcome back to the Golf Podcast. Today we've got a familiar name we're going to bring on the show. It's Matt Fisher, who you may know as Mr. Short Game.
He's killing it on YouTube.
He really is. And we had a lot of fun, and this is a series we're going to have continuing going on, of bringing some of the golf content creators out there on the show and then getting a little bit more of their background, because there's a lot of guys out there that we're watching them, we're learning from them on YouTube, but we don't really get the chance to get to know them very well or their journey.
Right.
In case in point here, Mr. Short Game, Matt, has had explosive growth, as you were saying, on YouTube, especially in the last year or so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, and he's been doing some really fun, not on top of his instructional series, he's launched a podcast, which has been doing incredibly well. And he does some other stuff that's a little bit more entertainment, like where he visits some of these golf courses that are
uber exclusive.
Yeah, very expensive golf, what it's like inside of a $250,000 golf membership. And because he's had so much explosive growth, I'll even admit to it. You know, we've had, a relationship with him in passing here and there for the last couple of years. But I had no idea that he actually started on YouTube like 14 years ago.
Yeah. Nuts, right?
It really is. And you go back, and we were watching some of his old videos, and usually old videos are cringeworthy. We watch some of our old videos. They're very cringeworthy. I'm really impressed.
Yeah. He seems pretty comfortable in front of the camera.
Very comfortable. And he's presenting his drills. So Matt's a guy who's been out there, really grinding on YouTube for 12 to 14 years now. And I think he gives a lot of value to his viewers. And I think that is why he's seen such explosive growth. I think he's coming up. He just actually crossed the threshold of 300,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah, there's no doubt. He's a hard worker in the content space, and we've seen him, numerous times. I remember seeing him at demo day from across the way, and this guy, he's got a tripod strapped to his back with all these cameras, and I think he's a one-man shop.
Yeah,
he's doing it as a one-man shop. I'm excited. We got a ton of great questions to ask him, and I even heard that he pursued acting in Hollywood. I want to ask him some questions about that.
Yeah,
too.
we've got a lot, because I think that's why it's so interesting. We've got this, the roundup as a golfer that you make the rounds on YouTube of the different creators that you hit, and you get these quick tips, and it helps you out, and you're able to deploy them out on the golf course. But we often take it for granted and don't actually often get to know the person behind the tips.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean? So I think this is why we've wanted to do this series, where we bring these content creators on, like Rick we did recently, really dive into the backstory. How'd you get started? Because I immediately, when I see something like this, when I go back to the beginning of his YouTube channel and I see these videos he was making 14 years ago, the first question I have is like, okay, tell me about this. Tell me about how you got your start.
Yeah, exactly.
So hopefully you guys are as interested as we are in this. So we're excited to bring him on the show. So let's not wait any longer. Let's jump right into our interview with Matt Fisher, as you know him, Mr. Short Game.
All right, I want to welcome Matt Fisher, a.k.a. Mr. Short Game, to the Golf Podcast. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Hey, it's long overdue. I mean, we've got a lot of questions we want to ask you today. We're going to talk about your incredible growth on YouTube. We've been watching it. You've had a lot of success, especially over the last couple of years. But before we do all that, something we like to do with our guests is travel back in time. And upon doing this research, I know you're hearing uh-oh on the other side of the screen. In 2007, you uploaded your first face in front of the camera video. I think you called yourself the Golf Man. And your first vlog style video. It seems like you've been doing this for 15 years now. I mean, how?
Admittedly, I didn't even know YouTube went back that far.
Exactly. And so where did it start from you? Take us back. I mean, you started as a coach when, and when did the YouTube start?
And one thing I want to interject too is most of us cringe when we go back and watch our first videos.
Big time.
But yet you were very comfortable on camera. I mean, your video production quality has gone way up. But I'll be honest with you, some of your first videos could almost stand today. So you were very comfortable on camera. I tip my hat to you there.
Well, I appreciate it. I was looking back, I still cringe at those because they're so bad. But I did have somewhat of, I was in LA, everybody acts. So I did, auditions and things like that. So I was semi-comfortable in front of the camera back in the early days.
And did you score any gigs doing that, or what was that like?
Yeah, I was in a DirecTV commercial, and and then I did some voiceover gig. I got some more voiceover work than anything, which probably helps more than the on-camera stuff, to be honest.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, you look super comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you coming right on screen and talking directly into the camera, and it was just like, hey, this guy seems like he's done this a long time.
Yeah, but what I was saying too is it was golf tips from the outset.
Yes.
You know, some people they experiment with different things, so that shows me, you know, you're obviously intertwining with golf goes way back. But what was it back then? Were you an instructor and then looking to get into the digital space, or tell us about that journey about where golf comes in?
So, okay, well, going all the way to the beginning, I mean, YouTube started in 2005, and I was an editor in Hollywood. And so YouTube initially was a dating website. So, but all of us editors, like it was like editors and real estate agents used YouTube from the beginning, because for us, it was a place to put our work so that we could send to people and say, hey, look at the commercials I edited or whatever the work I did. So that's how far back I go, like from the very beginning using YouTube. And then that first one was probably with me and my son. And I was like, okay, I'm coaching my kids, and let me, you know, put videos together doing that, because ultimately I wanted to do freelance work in the production space with golf clients. So I was like, all right, let me build a YouTube channel for that. And that's kind of how it started. And then I just coached my kids.
Gotcha. And how about your own kind of experience with the game? Yeah, I believe you played college golf, correct? But were you other than that, were you doing any other type of outside instruction or?
No, like, so I started when I was 18 golfing. That was like the first time I played a round of golf. And then 3.5 years later, I walked on and played for San Diego State for my last year of college. So that was kind of my college golf experience. But the way I tried to take a lesson, but the instructor was just so discouraging, and I just hated it. And he really kind of talked down to me in the sense that, like, you'll never be as good as pros, or you'll never hit it as far as them. And I was like, well, you know, why not? Like, I'm only 18. And they're like, oh, they start really young and you're 18. And I was like, yeah, but like they're 10, their swing speed's like nothing. And I'm 18. At least I have I got full strength here. Yeah. So I just didn't get it. And I said, forget you. So I'm going to go and learn on my own. And so I basically just taught myself golf using the same methods that I used playing every other sport growing up, which was, okay, you do this drill, and then you do another drill, and you do another drill, and then pretty soon you go play. And so that's kind of the basic way I taught myself.
Gotcha. And then that you could see kind of bleeds through in the way that you now teach, because I see very often the vibe is you guys can do this. Watch, this is how this is done. This is not, you know, you could get this. So that's kind of, in a way, kind of maybe set that path for you, saying like, I don't want someone to tell me I can't. I want someone who tells me I can.
100%. And like, even when I taught my kids growing up, you know, since they were 2-3 years old, they're hitting balls. I just had them do little drills growing up. So they're trying to chip it in a circle, or trying to hit little knockdown shots or high shots, whatever it was. It was always some drill thing. It wasn't so much, you know, put your hand here, do this with your wrist, do this, do that. It's so non-technical stuff. And I was like, man, they got really good on that junior golf level. And so I was thinking, hey, this is how I'd like to teach. And you know, if I were to teach, that's how I would want to do it. Was kind of the way I went about it.
So back on the videos, just, you know, what was it like? I mean, you're pretty much like is it safe to say you're like an OG in golf YouTube content going back that long?
Better be going back that far. Yeah.
I mean, when we had Rick Shields on the show, I think he mentioned it was 11, 12 years ago. You're 15 years or so. I mean, you got to be one of the OGs, and just kept the hustle.
I do look at that. Yeah, I looked at that. I'm like, man, I think I had like the first golf instructional video on YouTube. And I say to myself, I wish I had done it every day, you know, since that point. But there was, you know, I didn't think you could make any money or I didn't think there was any potential of work and when it came to YouTube and golf, like people were kind of doing it, but they were like whatever movie reviewers or at the, in the early days, there wasn't anybody making money.
Yeah. And that's kind of like us with the podcast. I mean, we laugh and joke about how we were, I think, one of the first 3 golf podcasts 8 years ago. One was Golf Smarter with Fred Green.
Yep.
And the other one was,
he might have been the first.
He might have been, he's the first. And then there was like a disc golf. And now fast forward.
Oh yeah.
There's a ton of them. And at the time we said the same thing. There's no money in this. It's just Frank and I talking to each other once a week. Like
we had an excuse to get away with talking golf, and our wives wouldn't yell at us, because any other time, every time we get together for dinner, the 4 of us would go out. They'd be like, all you guys do is talk golf. So we said, let's create a space where we can do that.
Space for that.
But so where did the switch happen then for you from going from using it as YouTube as this platform to kind of upload a portfolio to saying like, hey, there's something going on here. Let me give it a little bit more of a direct of its own focus.
Yeah. Well, let's see. So whatever, 07, 08, when the first video, it was a way for me to get freelance gigs in the golfing space, which allowed me to kind of just go on golf trips, whatever. Like, I'm going to do a project for these people, and they take me to Arizona or to the PGA show or wherever. So it was an excuse just to do golf stuff. And I never thought of it other than like, hey, it'd be cool if I had my own production company making golf content. And I was in LA working. And so I thought, well, one day I want to create a golf show and sell it. And that's the way I kind of wanted to, or thought that I would, make things happen. And so I actually did create a golf show, pitched it. It was stolen. It was a funny story, but it was totally stolen. And it was taken to a golf network at the time. They were just launching, and they really launched. Our agent said, they're choosing between your show and one other. And it was exactly the same show. They're like, it's weird. It's almost the same thing. It's just with this guy. And we're like, we sent him our video because somebody knew him as a famous guy. They're like, this guy is pitching his own show. It's very similar to yours. We're like, oh, man, that guy stole our show. So, but it was good. That network went up and down. They went down in flames. So it was great.
Is
and nothing ever happened.
Very similar.
Yeah, very similar.
Say. It's very similar.
Is it a goal for you to try to get a show on a main network still, or is that idea kind of gone?
No, not anymore. That was, I think. So I would just do it on YouTube now. I wouldn't necessarily need a show on network.
It's almost the
you
other
can just
direction
do it on
now.
your
It's
own.
like the traditional network shows want to know how to make it on YouTube now.
Mm-hmm.
It's the roles have completely switched.
Right.
Yeah, 100%.
So then that obviously that passes by that opportunity, and then you just kind of kept saying like, okay, finding what's working. That slow grind with YouTube, as all YouTubers go through, is just kind of seeing like what's my audience enjoying and just doing more and more of it. I would imagine that most of that was hinging on the instruction for quite some time. As I look through your huge catalog of videos.
Yeah, I have a lot now. Okay, so around 2016, I was working for a company, and the owner, she huge crook. She's on the run from the FBI now, embezzling. She stole $15 million from a bank and escaped to another country. But when I was working for her for like 6 or so years, we were creating television shows. And in 2016, I mean, she was just a huge crook. So I was like, okay, I can't work here anymore. And so people just weren't getting paid. So I did a lot of things to make sure I got paid, which ultimately led her to not want me working there anymore, which is fine with me. So all of the rest, that was around May or so of 2016. And then I was just searching for work for a whole year, and I could find nothing. And so in 2017, at the end of 2017, I'm dead broke, wife, 3 kids, couldn't pay the mortgage, tried everything, I didn't know what to do. And a buddy of mine was saying, why don't you do your YouTube channel? It seems to be like something people would be interested in. And I was like, you can't make any. Are people making money? So I didn't really ever watch YouTube then.
Yeah.
very little. And so he sent me a few channels like Casey Neistat and Peter McKinnon and a couple other guys that knew like how to do YouTube stuff. And he's like, watch these. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, but golf, like, is anybody? And there was a few guys. There weren't that many back then.
Right.
And I'm like, all right. So I watch a lot of like instructional golf videos. And I just said to myself, all right, don't make them like that. Just whatever you do, I don't want it boring. So I was like, okay, how can I do this? And I said, all right, I'll just do this other stuff and try to make it exciting. And I had no option. Like literally, I have no job. I have no money. I don't know how I'm paying the mortgage month to month. I'm selling all my camera gear. I sold all my computer. I sold everything. And I said to my wife, I came home, I said, all I got, I'm going to just do YouTube every day. And she's like, all right. She's like, all right.
And like, how long did it take from that conversation to when you started to see that AdSense revenue start to come in and make you happy, make you feel
happy? Here's where the grind begins. So 2018, as I kind of look at it, it's like the beginning of 2018 is like the kickoff where I really was like, I'm all in.
Back against the wall, all in. Back against the wall, it sounds like.
I had no other choice. Yeah. And literally, I'm thinking to myself, every door I try to open shuts. With work, with freelance work, with whatever. And I was editing occasionally for a company that made YouTube videos for Disney ended up buying that company. So it was Disney. And I'm thinking, all right, they're spending tons of money on these videos. And I'm thinking, I know I could get that many views on my golf videos. I just know it. And these weren't even any good. And I'm like, plus I'm doing those. And so they were all right. They weren't that horrible, but they were. And I was like, all right, if I could just do that for myself, game over. So I started doing it. I uploaded literally every day. I mean, I'd be just in my backyard. Literally, I'll tell you, I had no money for range balls. This is how broke I was. I had no money for range balls. So I had to get balls that I had left over and a range basket that I borrowed from the golf course. And I would just carry that around my backyard and hit chip shots. And I put up a net and I'm hitting into this net. And, 1 out of 10 balls goes through the net into like, who knows what house behind me. And then there were these acrobaters. There was acrobatic people that lived behind us. So I couldn't go out there where they're doing all their tricks because a ball would literally kill one of them while they're like in midair doing a flip. And I had like chickens and roosters running around and, I'm like, what? And I'm just laughing. I have an iPhone 6S with like a wide angle lens. It overheats. I'm putting in the freezer in between shots. And I'm thinking, is this where my life has evolved to all these years? And I was like, all right, people, I went from like 10 views a day on a video to 50. And then I remember when I got to, wow, that video got 100 views today. I was like, bouncing off the walls. I couldn't believe it. And it just kept growing and growing and growing.
Incredible. That right there, you just defined the YouTube grind. Mm-hmm. That's just,
yeah.
And then I guess, so the main thing was the two things that kept you going was that you were seeing some moderate growth in the beginning. It was trending in the right direction. And the second one was that you were literally all in because that became your career, whether you liked it or not at that moment. That was your decision to make that your career. And is that, because that's sometimes I find that's the hardest part. A lot of YouTubers quit early. They quit before it happens, before they get picked up and the channel starts to grow. So your motivation was that you were seeing some growth. I would imagine you were, even though it was a wild ride, you were enjoying it. Is that what kind of helped you hang on through that tough time?
Man, I'll tell you, I wanted to quit. Every week I went through this just lull of like, I can't do this. I can't. I mean, I loved the golf, obviously. I loved making videos. I loved it. And the grind wasn't so hard because in the television world, I made like on-air promos. So I'm doing these promotions for TV shows, and literally you have to do one a day. Like a show would air 5 days a week. You got to do a promo every day. So the editing piece of it, I didn't care. That was easy. I could edit videos all day. But I'm like, it was the doubt of whether or not this was going to turn into anything. Was every week I'm like, I don't know. And then I would get an email or somebody would comment on a video like, thanks, this is the best. Like, keep up the good work. I appreciate all you're doing. And then I'd get every now and then, probably once a week, I'd get an email of somebody who was like, dude, I was down and out. I wanted to give up the game and I came across your video and it helped me so much. And those ones just kept me going. I'm like, all right, that strung me along for another 2 weeks. And then I'd get another one and it would just keep me going. I'm like, all right, thank you. And I'm like, and there were times I'm like, I need another email. Otherwise I'm done. I can't do this.
And it seems like you found a little bit of a stride, starting to do course vlogs, starting to collaborate with more YouTubers like Golfholics, for example. Was that about the time where you were saying, all right, this is starting to work?
Or was there one single moment that kind of turned the corner for you? Or was it just these little bits?
Yeah, it's funny. Like when I was like struggling to, let's say, pay the bills, I would tell my wife, like, okay, if I get to 50,000 subscribers, just based on the numbers, I think that will pay our bills. I think we're right there. So it was like, just let me get there. And so there wasn't like a one video that was like skyrocketed me, beyond all the others. At that time, it was just, all right, they're just growth, like steps. And I was like, all right, I probably need that. I don't need to be like one hit wonder guy here as much as I wanted to. Like I wanted that viral video just to, pop off and you're like, well, you get like 100,000 subscribers like in a month. That would be great. But that never happened. So yeah, it was just that slow growth that kept me going. And then I did collaborate with Golfholics a lot. I still do because, we were close. They were in San Diego. I was in LA. So I was like, all right, they're the closest ones to me. How do I figure this out? And they were doing pretty good at the time. So we got together and that was good. That helped. And then we still do stuff to this day together.
Right. But you're no longer there. You've had the big move.
Yeah.
Moving across the country to Georgia now. What was the motivation for that big move?
It's a good question. Okay, so that's a good question. I was always looking to move. Just I felt like I wanted a change of scenery. I grew up in California, love it. But then I think my mom had moved up to Washington State and she was the only one she was in San Diego. So I was like, and she needed help with my stepdad at the time. And so once she was gone up in Washington, I felt like, hey, I don't need to stay here. And at the same time, like YouTube is paying the bills. So I'm like, we could go anywhere. So I literally got out a map and just said, okay, if we could live anywhere, what would we like to try out? And then obviously that was right when COVID hit and things were kind of getting crazy in LA. And we lived in a great little neighborhood, but there were our mailboxes were getting broken into every night. Our cars, you leave your car open, someone's opening it every night. And we lived in this neighborhood they called it like a candy cane lane, is where everybody does their house at Christmas, all the lights, and people come from all these other neighborhoods and drive around. So it was a pretty nice LA neighborhood. But then COVID hit and I was like, all right, I had the chickens, I had a garden. I'm like, let's just grow our own food because Costco was empty. And it was, but then I was thinking, hey, if things really go south, like everybody's going to know we've got food and we're done. Like they're going to get us. So then I can't, compete against 7-10 million people in LA, or in the neighborhood if they know you got all the food in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So yeah, then we just said, we picked Georgia. Let's go and try it out.
I feel like it's not too unfamiliar of a story to a lot of people because we see it here, New York City. I mean, mass exodus around, with COVID. And I think the city, I'm a big fan of the city, and I think it'll bounce back. But we see it. We both, our office, and we both live just outside the city, and we've seen real estate skyrocket as people want to just kind of make that move and get away from some of the more urban areas from that kind of whiplash of COVID. But I guess a big silver lining though is that it seems like with the move, you've got this new studio, which looks awesome. Just was this where you were now able to kind of build it out the way you wanted to have it?
Yeah, for sure. So when I came out here, I was looking for a home. I was like, okay, I need a studio where I could shoot, because the weather's a little different here than California. It's going to rain, it's humid, it's hot, there's bugs.
It's a long way from chipping in your backyard with acrobats in the background. Let's put it this way. Yes. You've come a very long way production-wise here.
I'd say so.
I know. People always send me a message. It's like, oh, I miss the chickens. I miss the chickens. I said, do you know how many times I had to reshoot something because a rooster crowed or, something weird happened? Anyways. Yeah. So moving out here, I was like, all right, let me build a studio in the basement. And that was always the plan. And so then I was, the channel grew enough to where I was able to do that and get the TrackMan and build the studio. And that's really been good for, a lot of the product review stuff, or when you're reviewing a driver, people want numbers, realistic numbers that they can trust.
Right. And you've got such a great controlled environment there. I imagine it makes it even easier to shoot because you've got everything ready to go. You get to just go and put it on. But as far as the content goes, the instruction itself, how do you go about that? Like picking what you're going to talk about? Is it that, are you doing some coaching? And I hear some people will say they'll pick it based on what they see their students struggling with. Others, they'll just know that there's just some common things that a lot of people are searching for those answers on YouTube. And they know that there's some answers that they can help give their offering to. What's your process in saying like, this is the next video I'm going to shoot?
Yeah. Good question. I have categories of, let's say, video subjects that I'll do. Like I do ones called like never do this, right? So that's a whole series of videos. And then I just brainstorm like, okay, what are some things I would never do? Like, oh, never lift your shoulders or come out of your spine angle. All right, never do that. Never. And then I just write down all the things you would never do, right? Same thing with, and I try to get really specific. For example, like I don't want to, and I do it sometimes, but I don't want to do a video that says how to fix your slice, because that's pretty generic. I would write down, I've got notebooks here, like lying around that I write all my stuff in, just everywhere. And I'll write like, okay, the number one reason your left hand is causing your slice. So that's a lot more specific.
Yeah.
And so things like that, I have found get more views than the big generic ones. Because, somebody's like, oh, what's wrong with my left hand? Oh, I got to watch that. And then I get real specific on that. Or, so that's kind of the process. I have categories. I've got like 5 or 6 different categories, and then I just try to stick in there. And then sometimes I'll do the same video in 2 different categories, right? Like never do this. Everybody, never do this with your left hand. Yeah. Because, right, it causes giant slice. And because each category too kind of appeals to a different audience. Some categories appeal to a younger audience and some to an older audience. So I can literally do the same video, sort of, but then I just tailor make it for an audience that's 50 to 60-year-old men versus the 25-year-old guy. They like 2 totally different styles of video.
Yeah. So
I can do literally 2 videos. They're similar. They're just edited or put together in a different way to appeal to the audience that's going to click on it.
Yeah. And speaking about different audience, I know you're probably thinking, I asked the same thing about the new series he's doing.
I just, I want to talk about what's really popped off for you, and that's this exclusive country club visits. It seems you found, the bangers, and it seems like you're smart enough to know if something works, just keep doing it. So What happened there? Did you just happen to go visit one and say, I'm going to do this video, and then it ripped and you're like, hey, I got to keep doing these?
So I always, it's part of what my show was that I created, was going to these exclusive country clubs and showing people around. And there's a celebrity piece of that I wanted in, but then obviously it's just me, so I don't have that. And some celebrities might not be good on camera or whatever. So I just wanted to eliminate that piece of it and just say, look, I'm just going to do it kind of the Casey Neistat style, where he did the airplane first class reviews.
Yep.
I was like, man, I love those videos. So I said, I'm just going to kind of do the country club version of that. And
they love those behind the scenes.
They do.
Yeah.
Yes. the country clubs hate it.
Of course.
Some of them.
Of course.
Like I've had to pull a couple down.
Oh, no
Really?
way.
Yeah. Like the first one I did, they made me pull it down. And it's sad because what they did was they kind of strong-armed the charity that I promoted during the video. Like a charity invited me out and I played in this charity event at this big country club. And it was the most popular, it was the first one, and it was the most popular private exclusive tour video I did. And then they said to that charity, luckily it was like 5 or 6 months later, but they said, hey, he needs to pull that down or you can't have your tournament here again.
Oh,
wow.
That's a real strong arm.
So, yeah. So obviously I'm not going to like jeopardize them. So I pulled it down, but it might find its way back some way or another. I encourage people to reach out to that country club, because at the end of the day, like look what Dude Perfect did at Augusta, right? Like I didn't do much different than they did. Except they got permission. I didn't, you got permission.
That's what I want to ask you. Do you go into these shoots just hoping no one complains, or do you actually get permission at most places?
No, I just go.
You're honest.
I shoot first, ask questions later. Because look, there's so much red tape for like, we want a YouTuber to come and cruise around, do whatever. Like, and then they're going to want to look at it and approve it. Obviously, if it's Augusta National, that would be something. For sure. But, I just shoot. And I did the first one I did call and say, hey, is it a problem if I shoot there? And they're like, no, we've had other YouTubers shoot here. And I said, fantastic. And I said, can I fly a drone? And she said, yeah, no problem. But, just be careful. And I said, okay, no problem. And so, but they didn't know I was going to be in the locker room and in the shower and doing all that. But whatever, that's what people love. These younger kids, they love to see that behind the scenes. They want to feel like they have all access.
Yeah, for sure.
And it just helps. They don't realize it, but it does help grow the game. They say they want to help grow the game, but then when people actually do grow the game and they're not necessarily like, it wasn't their idea, then they're not real happy about it for some reason.
Yeah.
Luckily, a lot of these clubs are starting to come around, but we sense it. We can get a vibe in 2 seconds of whether a club gets it or not. If we're going somewhere we're going to film, of whether they know it's great exposure versus other ones. They're just like, wait a minute, what are you doing? And honestly, we just move on.
And we do. And what's funny? What most clubs just want in return? They just want the drone footage.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, it's cool. Can we get
really?
footage, by the
way? A
way?
lot of them will say, yeah, if you give us all the drone footage to reuse for our website, because a lot of these guys, look, people coming in, charge them a couple $1,000 to fly, give them drone flyovers. Like, we're doing it anyway. Here's the footage.
That's a good idea.
You use this all you want. But yeah, we've been kind of the opposite. We do a lot of permission asking because we're operating on such a thin margin of when we're available to shoot. We physically in our schedule couldn't afford to do a day's shoot and then not be able to use the content.
Right.
So a lot of times we'll go through that whole approval process, but someone says, no, we should move on. The only time we ever had to take a video down was
with Golfholics.
No, that's Bob.
That's a different
Bob
one.
Was a whole separate
Bob Menery was a whole different thing. Yeah.
An incident with
I remember
Menery.
that one.
I don't know if you. Yeah, were you around the PGA show that year? You might have been.
He was there. This is 20.
I was.
19?
What year was it?
2020, right before COVID lockdown.
2020. That was.
I was at the show that year, but I didn't. You guys played with Bob Menery, right?
Yeah. Well, originally, what we were supposed to do was play with Golfholics. That was the time we were going to finally collab with them. And they were possibly going to play with Bob. And long story short, we were all talking, we're like, sure, Bob, like come join us if you want. And then we're waiting and he never showed up. So we told the guys, like, let's just tee off. Long story short, Bob meets us he catches up with us by like the second hole. It's 9 a.m. He's got what, 3 pina coladas?
3 pina coladas. You know,
we had a great time. We had a wild time. It was fun. We don't really do any of that stuff on our channel. We don't drinking or whatever. We bleeped out any cursing that he did, but we had fun and we enjoyed the day with him. But I guess we got a note later on from his legal team that he had a big deal coming up with Buffalo Wild Wings, and our video was jeopardizing the deal. And we said, I don't understand how, because our video was very tame compared to anything that's on his social media, but you know, we don't want to burn any friendships. So respectfully, we kind of took it down. It wasn't a huge deal for us, but the time I'm thinking of, the only time we took it down was, this is not knowing and not coming from a content world. We got media credentials for the first time for a PGA Tour event. So we said, this is great. We're here as media. So we filmed the full vlog while we were there.
Clueless
about it.
Oh, no.
We were talking players.
No, they don't like that.
Oh, we had players on this thing. We had everything. And long story short, they caught up with us. And then now they said, like, you guys, you can't do that.
If you ever want to come back,
they're like,
again.
it's a different credentialing if you want to take a video camera out there. We're like, well, what are we doing here then?
Yeah. But thankfully, they did allow us to film the Pro-Am. We did have to pay them for that, believe it or not. And,
oh my gosh.
We can only show 30 seconds of Molinari's swing, my playing partner.
And 90 total seconds of you.
And like 90 seconds of me. The rest was just talking.
So we had to
the
get
camera.
crafty that day. But at least we learned the rules. But prior to that, we had no idea.
Yeah, so the PGA Tour wants to grow the game of golf. They have you come out there to film, but you just can't use any of the footage.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
It's wild.
So I wanted to ask you this, back on your content. You are still a one-man team out there. Is that right? It's just you
That
and
is
Cam?
true, yes.
Jeez.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What about editing?
Yeah, it's a lot,
That too?
it's a lot of work. I do all that too currently. Most of it. Sometimes my kids will edit for me a little bit.
Okay.
I know I got to hire an editor, but you know, that's the thing.
Enjoy it.
I do. There's certain things where I'm editing it and I'm like, nobody would just know to do this and take this out, or like, I'll say something. I'm like, I just don't like the way that comes across. And I guess I could watch it and tell people to take it out, but it's just for now faster for me to do it. But yeah, I am looking to expand and hire somebody to do it all.
Yeah. We're in the same boat. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I'll say even to Mike, I'll be like, Mike, by the time I explain what I want done in this edit and come back with all the revisions to an editor, I just could do it myself in that time frame. But we run into the same problem. It gets to a point where you can only handle just so much, and it hinders your own growth until you can start to bring other people on the team.
But where we've had success, Matt, with that is now we've got Zach. I don't know, Zach, you want to say hello to Matt? There he is.
Hey, Zach.
You can't hear.
Nice to meet you, Matt.
There it is. So
You too.
For a year now, and he has become one of our video editors, and it's just been, he's here with us. We're over his shoulder showing him how we do things and how we like it, and he's learning it. Now he's got it back of the hand. It took a little bit of a learning curve, but you're right. I mean, we've had it sending out to people on Upwork and other editors, and some of them just don't get it. You know, it's hard to find that editor.
Slow
who gets
road.
it.
That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But it's crazy that you're still doing it all the same, all on your own. That's wild.
Yeah, I feel like with the style I've created in the videos, that if I were to have a camera operator, and I've done it a couple times, I feel like I might lose something, at least in terms of the style of the video. But I don't know if it's like detrimental or anything. Yeah, there's plenty of guys who have camera operators out there to help. It is a way easier when you do that.
For sure.
For sure.
And I'm going to talk to you about some of those other content creators in a second, but we're just going to do a quick ad break, and we will be right back with more from Mr. Short Game.
All right, well, our interview with Mr. Short Game, it's the perfect time to talk about the Voki Sm9 Wedges.
There you go.
Which we got dialed in recently, and can't say enough great things about them. They truly are a product of superior handcrafted technology, and each one as the Voki team says, is an instrument of creative control. They're created from the most advanced materials, engineered to deliver ideal flight and spin, and grinds designed to release your best wedge play possible. And that's something we really learned firsthand. We recently did a wedge fitting, and that's what it came down to, was Kevin working with Kevin Sprecher from the Titleist Regional Fitting Center and helping us really unlock what best fit our different swings. And so interesting, you and I being such different golfers, there was different things in there for each one of us. Bob Voki talked about being the ultimate in optionality. There are so many great options, and truly there are many ways to make a wedge, but there's only one way to make a Voki. So visit the Voki Design SM9 Wedges on the Voki website, and I'm going to encourage you guys to do this. Go get fit. The nice thing about so many options there are truly so many options to get you fit into. But I think the little bit of that guidance under someone who knows what they're doing, knows how to get you dialed with that bounce, the loft, the grind, it really will revolutionize your game. And as of when this video is coming out on our main channel, we're going to be dropping our video of our fitting and including a massive Voki giveaway in there. You're not going to want to miss that. So make sure you subscribe to the main channel, hit the bell so you don't miss these big announcements. But we got a fun giveaway we're putting together for you guys. As I said, though, if you watch the video, you'll see as we get taken through the process. But feeling it firsthand, I can't tell you enough how you guys got to go out there. You got to try these for yourselves. The new SM9s, they are just the latest in a long line of incredible advancements in Voki, and we're loving them. So stay tuned for the giveaway and make sure you check out Voki wedges this season.
And guys, bring some heat to your game with the all-new Fuel golf shoes from Footjoy. I mean, they're stylish. They deliver the fit and comfort of a sneaker, and they're packed full of golf-specific innovation for men, women, and juniors. Tons of vibrant colors. Frank, I know you were wearing them out there today during that wedge fitting. Incredibly comfortable, terrific traction, and they have that athletic look, like that sneaker look. They're very light.
Super light.
Footjoy Fuel appeals to players of all levels of the game, whether you're wearing shorts, long pants, playing 9 holes, playing 36 holes, whatever it is that you're doing for your golf game, Footjoy Fuel has been engineered to bring some serious heat to your game. Learn more about these shoes at footjoy.com.
Yeah, and of course we want to thank Precision Pro. Guys, we've been loving the new R1 Smart Rangefinder and the Ace Smart Speaker. We've been using them more on the course. If you watch our regular videos, you see us out there firing pins, getting our yardages, and it's truly revolutionary what they've done as far as a smart rangefinder. We did a whole video on this, but what's so revolutionary is that when we were used to getting our yardages when we fire the pin, before it was great getting the number and getting the slope adjustment. Now we've got something called My Slope. So paired with the Precision Pro, the R1 and the Ace speaker, you've got the Precision Pro app, which is a incredibly user-friendly app. And it allows you to go in there and enter your individual launch characteristics, how far you hit the ball, what is your launch angle. You enter that for each club, and then it's going to use that to become a smart caddy for you out there.
Yeah,
so the
cool.
My Slope is going to give you a number personalized to you, and you see that right in the rangefinder. But you can also find it in the app, which I find myself pulling out on the golf course often because it has incredible GPS. You can drag around, around the screen and get all your yardages. It's seamless, it's quick, it's easy to use. And because it's smart, it features things like Find My Rangefinder, which came in a lot of handy for us. First time back out on the golf course this spring, still a little bit rusty in what we're doing. And of course, we both left our rangefinders.
Not just you, both of us.
Both of us left our rangefinders behind. Luckily, you pull up the Find My Rangefinder app. We know where we left them at the course. We were able to go back and get them. So make sure you check it out. In fact, if you want to see more about the R1 rangefinder, we did a whole video on it when we played the tips at Patriot Hills. That was our first use of it, and we've been addicted to it ever since. And don't forget to use coupon code Golficity on the Precision Pro website. Get the maximum discount. They've been very generous to offer a great discount for the Golficity community, but it truly is revolutionary rangefinder, and the Ace Smart Speaker is a lot of fun out there. The thing bumps.
It does bump.
It does.
It does.
So, all right, guys, let's get back into our interview with Mr. Short Game. All right. So back with Matt. And one thing we started talking about was just in general, the YouTube space and content creators and stuff like that. It's a vastly changed landscape from where you were when you started. And another thing we talk about is kind of growing the game. But what's your feeling on golf YouTube as its own animal right now? Is it oversaturated? Is it that there's room for everyone and everyone should have a voice in it? What's your feeling on it now? Because it is quite crowded, but in a way, to me, that kind of shows that the game is pretty strong if there's that much interest.
And I'll take it a step further and add to that, like a Garrett and Micah going and doing or a Grant doing an exclusive country club video. That's clearly gave you a shout out, but that video is going to refer people to your video. I mean, what's your thoughts on all that?
Yeah. Well, I think it's great. And I love what they did. And I read a bunch of those comments, and a lot of people are like, hey, we love Mr. Short Games, private, like, it's cool. And all that stuff is great. Is it oversaturated? No. I mean, it's hard to say, like, what's too much? Just because you watch one of, your videos doesn't mean you're not going to watch one of my videos, right? People who are watching golf videos are going to watch golf videos, and they're going to watch a bunch of different kinds. And like, if you don't like my video, like, you're not going to watch it just because I'm the only guy doing it, right? If you don't like me, you're just not going to watch my videos no matter what.
Right.
So it doesn't matter how many people are out there. There should be content that you like to watch. Yeah. And so my job is to produce content, hopefully, that people like. And and what I love about YouTube is, like, we're not competitors, we're collaborators. We're all going to help one another grow the space. And the way I see it is, hey, there's one guy out there with 2 million subscribers and nobody else has 1 million. So I've got at least 1 million people out there to I've got 2 million plus opportunity, I guess you would say, which is great. I love that. And the guys like, GM and what people like that are doing is, hey, they're capturing a super young market, at least I would assume, right?
Yep.
And so eventually that person is going to want to know how to hit a ball out of a bunker. And then they might find one of my videos. Right. And if I can't teach you how to hit out of a bunker, I would be a horrible person to say, look, if I can't teach you, I don't want you to learn from anybody else. Like, right. That would be ridiculous.
Right.
So if my way doesn't work for you, then hopefully you'll find somebody's that does.
Yeah. I think of it as almost, it's like a passive collaboration. Obviously we do active collaboration where we work together, but in a way we love it when you see someone who's done a similar video, because if people are enjoying that, YouTube's going to do its job and suggest our video, and people bounce around that way. So we've always said that I think the more golf on YouTube, the better. In a lot of ways, it's just great for all of us. So that being said, I mean, you said originally you weren't watching YouTube. I would imagine now you're more of a YouTube consumer. Are there other channels, golf or otherwise, that you personally enjoy watching? Or even some maybe you take inspiration from? Yeah.
Well, okay. So one recently, not too long ago. So Bubby Golf does a video, and I kind of got like railed on this a little bit on my channel, but I kind of expected it. He does a video about this golf chuck it, this golf toy, right?
Yes. Yep.
And I was like, okay. And I was waiting for an opportunity like this. I'm like, okay, this is perfect. Because one, he never even used it. He just talked about it in swing. So I said, okay, cool. This is a great opportunity. I want to see what happens with like the algorithm if I do a video actually using this thing, which I did. I actually bought it and said, okay, here's how you use it to get the best result, and did a video. And people were like, you didn't give Bubby any credit for it. And I was like, it's perfect. I didn't want to give him any credit for it. Not because he didn't deserve it, but because I wanted to see what would happen in terms of the YouTube and what does YouTube do with that, right? Yeah. He does a video. I don't copy the video, but I do I piggyback right off of it, and I do another video. I do a video very, on the heels of it. What does YouTube do with all that? Well, it's his number one viewed video on his channel.
Yeah.
By a mile. Mm-hmm. Why is that?
Right.
Is it because, like, why? he didn't even use the thing. And I'm not saying like it's because of me, but it's because of that, like you said, that passive collaboration. And YouTube, right. They go back to the original one. Like, oh, this is where it started. So therefore, that's the one we're going to push out to more people.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, that's what's great, is that we can use and piggyback and stepping stone kind of off other people's videos. And it helps everybody. Like I feel like that helped his grow. Mine did okay. And then it would help other people to do the same thing.
Yeah. That's the best way I've found to explain his passive collaboration, but it is so cool.
Yeah,
how
I like that
system works. One thing, of course, we got to dig into before we let you go is more recently, the second channel, the podcast. So first,
yeah.
is this your first alternate channel? And secondly, what made you decide to go into a podcasting format? Well,
I always liked the podcasting stuff. You guys do a great job on the podcasts.
Thank
and yeah, you guys are really good. And so I'm like, okay, like I always wanted to talk more golf, and it just doesn't, it doesn't fit on my main channel. And I tried to do it in different ways. I'm like, no, it doesn't. I'm going to confuse the algorithm if I put long form content. Yeah, I would even do like these hour-long live things on there. I'm like, no, those are horrible. YouTube doesn't know what to do with it, because you have a 7-minute video, you have 800 12-minute videos, and then you have an hour video.
Yeah, you're talking to
remember,
guys who
like,
learned this the hard way.
We learned it the hard way.
Yeah. So did I. So I'm thinking, okay, now I want to do the podcast. I want to talk golf and be like really reactive and immediate to things that are happening out there. That, obviously what you're doing, what all the podcasters are doing. So I said, okay, it took me a while to figure out the best way, let's say, to formulate it for YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I'm doing it the best way, but I figured out, okay, this is the way that's best for me.
Yeah, well, it's certainly gotten a lot
I'm not going to put up
and growth. So you're doing something right. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's, again, I'm taking the categories of videos, or some categories that we'll talk about. Like there's some instructional stuff. There's obviously a lot going on in the tour.
Yeah.
With,
trending news is big.
Thank you, Phil Mickelson, and everybody out there.
I was going to say Phil, right? Yeah.
Phil and Greg Norman. There's a lot. Tiger is always, he's doing some great stuff. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about. So I said, okay, let me launch the podcast channel. I kind of got the way I want to do it down. And yeah, that's been going. It's good. I like it.
Is the Mr. Short Game brand sponsored at all? Do you have any sponsors you work with, partners that pay you to just promote? No, it's all ads, all
no. It's all ads, and then some affiliate
choice, or because I know some people will purposely stay away from brand deals because they have it worked into the way they do their content as far as comparisons and things like that. Is that something that is it by design? Have you designed it that way?
Yeah, I had a deal. It was almost done with a big brand, huge golf company. And at the last hour, I reached out to him. I said, guys, let's not do it. Let's not do it. I don't think it's fair to the viewer if I'm taking money from you and then reviewing your equipment at the same time. I just don't think that's going to, I'm going to be biased. How can, I'm not, and I don't want to do that. Like, sure, send me free stuff. Like, that's great. But just know, I'm going to say if I love it or I hate it. So I turned that down, and then I just said, look, I'm not going to do those big brand deals like that. I'll do affiliate with some stuff. And even now I'm kind of getting rid of a lot of that, because a lot of the stuff, I don't want to feel like a salesman, like, oh, buy this, buy that, buy that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, and yeah, it's tough. It's a tough line to walk, but because sometimes people will say, I'll pay you this much to review our product.
Right.
And then I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Right. It's a
sure.
tough tightrope. It really is. I mean, our personal litmus test has always been, would we say the same things about the product, whether we were sponsored or not? So because we your ability to stay genuine, people are very smart. They'll see right through it if you're ingenuine. But if you can speak genuinely about it, like we've been very fortunate in the few brands that we've worked with that we could speak that way, one, and two, we always structure it so that, and we're very fortunate the brands will allow this, that they don't have any control over the content. So as long as we can do what we want and say what we want, we know we'll come off genuine. But that's hard. Not every brand will get that. And it really truly has to be a match, you know?
That's true.
We did a podcast last week and we're talking about Ricky Fowler and Cobra. Like something like that that's just like, it seems like it should have been there from the start. Like it's just like, it's just such an obvious match, you know, in some ways.
Yeah.
And it sometimes works. And other times you can tell when it doesn't, when it's somebody just saying something because a brand told them to say it. I think that being authentic and genuine is one of the most important things when it comes to developing this type of stuff on YouTube or whatever your content creation space is.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Matt, what's next for you, for Mr. Short Game? I don't want to say the end goal, but what do you got your sights set on, near future? What do you got going on?
Like, well, okay, with
Anything
Mr. Short
big you
Game,
can tell us about it.
I do have some big things coming up. Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if I want to drop it so soon, but
No exclusives here, huh?
Yeah, no exclusives here. I'm trying. Okay, I'll tell you this. I'm trying some things out in terms of these aren't big. I've already launched the Mr. Short Game Korean channel. So that I'm testing it out, trying to see if there's a market in these alternate languages.
Yeah, sure.
So I do have somebody handling that and dubbing it and taking care of all the thumbnails and titles and descriptions, which is but
you mean you teach yourself Korean for this?
No, no one involved speaks these languages, so it's all parceled out to get people to do that. So we're doing some testing there to see if that's an option to. Well, we launched a Korean version of the channel, so we're going to do Japanese as well and see what happens. I mean, who knows? The great thing about YouTube is you could try stuff and like, oh, that didn't work. No big deal. Like you'll know. That's what's great about it. It's immediate feedback with very little investment. So that's already happened. At least the Korean version. That's no big scoop. The other big stuff is coming, which it's big in the world of golf. So you can just kind of kick that around and see what you could come up with. But hopefully, I'll be around. Well, you'll see very shortly in June, beginning of June.
Okay.
that
some cool stuff on the channel. All right.
That should be the biggest hit. Everybody should figure it out right there.
Yeah, that's all we need. That's for sure. Well, do any of those plans, let me answer this, any of those plans bring you around our way? Because we'd love to get out there on the course with you sometime.
Well, you guys, what, up in Jersey, Long Island, Jersey?
No, we're right outside of the city. It's
the west side of the
city.
city.
Stay away from Long Island as much as we can.
Stay out of that traffic.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Maybe in late July. You might bring me
so you don't want to
around your neck of the woods
next week.
Yes,
no, I'm just kidding.
Wait, my plans just changed.
Canceled. Plans just changed. I'm free next week. Next week I am free.
Yeah.
June 6th or June 9th through the 11th, I'm not free.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Just keeps dropping them for us.
Keeps dropping those.
Yeah.
First, I'm not available during those times.
Yeah.
That's almost U.S. Open time, but okay.
Almost, not quite.
No, right?
Yeah. You guys should figure that. You guys should know what that is
Frank
already.
knows and I don't. So he's going to tell me after.
I just don't know what we can say. I don't want to blow
I know
that up. So I think we'll keep it a fun comment game. We'll let people drop it in the comments. Who figures it out first? We'll allow that.
I got it.
Zach's got it.
Zach's got it. He's on the computer looking it up. Like, what's over there?
I'm the website editor, so all that kind of news comes through me.
Yeah, that's his
okay.
job over there. But all right, so yeah.
Well, what about you guys? What do you guys that got big coming up? That's all I'm curious about.
Well, we're near term, we're heading up to Boston Sunday to go to U.S. Open Media Day. We're going to be playing and filming Brookline.
Ooh.
It's funny enough that we've I think we only got one spot, so I think we're going to do front 9, back 9.
Yeah.
Whatever. So we're
that'd be fun.
But I tell you, taking a little bit of inspiration from you and the grind. I mean, one thing that's for us, the next big thing is we started this media company and now almost 10 years.
It's 10 years next
Almost
month.
10
Yeah.
years ago. And
Wow.
Mike and I both do this part-time. We still have full-time careers that we're working our way out of, doing them half-time. So the next big thing is the leap, as you said, and just being able to jump fully into it. And I'm right now, Mike has some contracts in his industry that he's a little bit more tied up, but I'm looking to make the leap on June 1st.
We're getting there. Yeah.
So to full
I love it. I love it.
Right now,
Ramp up.
everything we do 2 days a week for Golficity. So that's why you can imagine, especially these video shoots. Like I said, we can't waste a moment's time because that could be your whole week's worth of content. So our personal goal is to get to that point where we have the full time to put into it and really start to put out more content and level it up.
I love that. All right. So June 1st is your day.
June 1st is my day, and I'm working. It's a
You
hard
said
part.
that with a little stutter in your
'Cause
voice.
you know what? I come from, I work in a family business. My father started the company, and I've been working for 15 years, and my brother's there, and he's the one who's interested in continuing it. And I'm just working. It's not like any job where you could just leave and feel fine about walking out the door. It's a lot of making sure that he's taken care of and they can do it. And I'm sure there'll still be times I'm checking in, but it just, crossing T's, dotting I's, and just wanting to really dig in on this, which is our passion.
Because if you want this thing to grow, I think you gotta be serious. You gotta take it full time. You gotta ramp up.
Gotta make the leap.
output. Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
So that's what's on our
Yeah,
agenda.
100%.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. I'll keep my eyes on you guys. See what happens come June 1st.
Likewise.
And beyond.
That's right. All right. Well, that's great. Listen, again, appreciate you taking the time, coming on, talking with us, giving us the full story, going back to those first couple videos. It's always an interesting journey to hear how people as successful as yourself got to this point with golf, with everything else. So appreciate you taking the time, humoring us, and digging in on some of these questions. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime. It's good times.
Awesome. And look for many exciting things to come from you in the future. Thanks for coming on the show.
You got it.
All right. So that was fun. And you guys let us know. Are you enjoying these types of interviews where we get to dig into some of your favorite and some of our favorite content creators and find out about their journey? Like I said, I've always found that golf is like this singular piece that kind of links us together, but there's so many different people who have arrived at the game in so many different ways. So interesting here. My first time hearing that he didn't start the game until he was 18.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy this series. We want to get more of them on. And if there's other content creators that you'd like to see here, just do a deep dive interview, let us know in the comments, because I'm really enjoying this.
It's cool. And it has to be inspiring, especially for you, to hear a guy who said he was flat broken back against the wall.
Yeah.
And he made the leap, and you going full time, not in that position, it's got to feel a little bit better. Like he went all in and he made it work. And it was such a cool story to hear. I didn't know that about him. I had no idea. I just always thought he was successful from the start, doing this, but
it's true. Sometimes it takes a lot of guts.
It does
to make that leap, especially it takes a lot of guts to hang on, as he was saying, when it's just like, imagine, the next video you have to keep putting out just to get to the point where you're paying the bills,
right.
And
uprooting the whole family, the kids, going to the other side of the country and starting again and just going for it.
Tough journey, but
very inspirational.
What I like is that Matt has a very great way of adding his own voice to the game, voice to his instruction. And just like when you get one-on-one instruction, you've got to jive with the instructor. I think it's similarly when you're consuming content. And I found it very interesting of where he kind of got that vibe, like that you can do it and show you how you can do it vibe, was because his early own experience where he felt like a little bit too pessimistic in the lessons that he was getting. So it's interesting to hear that. Hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode. Make sure you guys give Mr. Short Game a follow, a subscribe on social, on YouTube. If you're not already doing so, you've probably seen his videos, because he does a great job and he's grown tremendously. But if you don't already, go give him a look. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And we'll see everybody again next week.